Hello and welcome back to Inquisitor Martyr. Last time we ran some random missions, and our seasonal mission is up to a boss, so we're gonna run that. Also, I popped a meme virus because, sure, why not? What's the worst that can happen? Okay, do we want to put anything on this? We'll see what the rewards are. Okay, warp damage, that's fine, I don't care. Damage bonus, okay, that's a little dicey. Additional champion, I don't care. Critical hits are disabled during this mission. Tolerable. It sucks a little bit, but we can make do. Okay, plasma guns still putting in work. Good. And I don't care about fighting Plague Marines. Plague Marines are a walk in the park compared to incredibly annoying... what are they? Alpha Legion. Oh, this just came to mind. Marvel's Avengers, the Crystal Dynamics game, is no longer available digitally. That's been removed from storefronts as of the beginning of this month. So if you want it, you gotta find a physical copy. Not that hard to find them. They're probably gonna be dirt cheap anyways. It wasn't a bad game. It was a decent hero brawler. The story wasn't the greatest, but it was a fairly unremarkable looter shooter. But I think it did some of what it wanted to do very well. I didn't like the ability combo system where it's like a warm colored element. If you trigger a warm-colored effect on an enemy, and then someone with a cold color, so like a blue or a green, hit an enemy with a like red or whatever color, it would cause an explosion and do extra damage. It's simple, but I don't like combo systems like that, because they just feel really kind of clunky. And if you're trying to min-max, you either have to have like half your abilities have one and half your abilities have the other, or you have to dedicate all to one, and then you're sitting here trying to like suss out what other people have and try to itemize. And I'd rather have kind of the Warframe style where it's just like, yeah, here's the elements, here's what they do. They don't stack, they don't do any unique interactions. As cool as that is, it's just kind of tedious. And I think what you get out of it isn't as much as people believe. And I think you run the risk of creating a very convoluted system if you wanted to have all the elements have like unique interactions. Because at a certain point you just gotta be like, no, we're putting our foot down. Because it makes it harder if you ever want to add more. I want to check the little alcove over here. But otherwise it's like, okay, if fire and ice do this, and fire and shock do this in combination, and now you add, let's say you have, like, let's do basic 4 elements. Okay, so you got a bunch of interactions, but now if you add something else, now you gotta add 4 different interactions, and that'll cover everything. But then if you add another one, you gotta add 5, and so on and so forth, and it starts to add up, and it's just not fun. Just having a straight, this does this, bleh, is good. I think that was a problem too with like Anthem, was they try to do the same thing of trying to set up really weird combos, and this is a primer and this is a detonator. It's like, you're adding complexity where complexity does not need to be. Meanwhile, they launch with broken legendaries that have a 0% chance to do 0 bonus damage. I love how there wasn't even a floor to that system. Like, not even 1% and like 1 damage, or 1 times item level or something. I saw some cool stuff in there. I'm gonna guess Death Shroud Terminator again, because we're indoors. We're not gonna get a... Oh, speak of the devil. I was wrong, it's a Blight Hauler. Here, I thought we weren't gonna have them because we're indoors, and the game just was like, nah, you guessed wrong. Oh, there's 3 Blight Haulers. I shouldn't... Oh, because our thing increased number of enemies. Bone fragment of Chaplain Magrarius. Chaplain Magrarius was a member of a forgotten Space Marine chapter that was sentenced to penitent crusade. Upon his return as the sole survivor, he found his home star system threatened by widespread chaos corruption from within. In response, he drafted a host of inmates from a penal colony, forged them into a formidable fighting force, and led them to redemption by defeating the corrupt authorities. A century after his death, his tomb was destroyed in another war, but fragments of his bones were collected by soldiers and turned into religious artifacts. That's kind of neat. I always love little lore bits about Space Marines. I wish there was a version of the circle ability, my AoE plasma gun, or plasma cannon ability, that would do like a lingering damage field. Another Blight Hauler? Man, they were real insistent on adding a bunch of these to this fight. I guess my modifiers kind of did that to me, but in the end, if it gives you more enemies, it's more loot, so kind of better off doing that than not doing it. Let's see, main implant, I see a Signum, heavy flamer, that might be good. We might have some cool stuff. Might all suck, you never know. It could be either or. Hopefully good stuff. Got my fingers crossed. I also haven't checked what this plasma gun has, because I know it's unlocked its last abilities. I hope. It better have. I've run this thing long enough, it should give me my abilities. Okay, cool. Do our passive quick. I already got the increased crit chance, so we don't really need to run the rest of this. Oh, see. What sucks is this goes from an 8-point cost to 15 points if I want to get enhanced organs. But 10% max HP would be nice. We'll go for it, because if anything, I can always just buy a skill tree reset and just take all the points out of this if I need to. Alright, what do we got? Bleeding on physical skill hit. I do lose loot quantity, but I do get a bunch of bonuses that aren't bad. Yeah, we'll do it. Not worth it. Here's where all the good stuff ended up. Sadly, don't care about the hammer. Even though it does have an augmented 1st and 4th ability. I still don't have that Signum of Wisdom maxed out. I have to do harder missions, so I'll probably have to... I might just pick some high-end, high-level missions and put no modifiers on them. Critical hit chance for next attack. On hit taken... I don't like that. That's kind of garbage. Inoculator. Knockback feared enemies. I don't care. That's not actually that good. Plasma pistol, sorry, you're a pistol. Power sword, you're a melee weapon. Additional duration to shock and slow effects. HP gained on hit. Now, see, it's good, but minus 32 quality, and just like the critical hit stuff, solid. It's hard to really sell me on it, even with bonus loot quantity. Don't really care about trigger a judgment spell. Don't use a shield. Even though it does have a special shield ability. That flamethrower, though. And it's a 5 slot. If I had the Psalm codes, we're gonna save that, because if we have the Psalm codes, we can turn that into a nasty weapon. Don't use aimed or sniper skills, so that's a waste. Yeah, itty bitty problem with that. I kinda need to get enrage tokens, and if I don't have... because that doesn't give me enrage. Berserk token... Oh, chance to gain when a judgment. That's not even reliable. Yeah, so I would trade it out, realistically. But it is also slightly worse. It's just I get more HP. It's an axe. And that's about it. Okay. Not the greatest haul, but still acceptable. That flamer, though, that has a ton of potential. We can do some real stupid stuff with that, because then we can get the heat damage, gives shield and health, and then I can... See, the only problem... I guess, good thing I'm pouring into my health and suppression, because then I'll be able to just walk into dudes flamethrowering and hopefully bust them up, but it is kind of a risk because I am giving up the reliable range of a plasma cannon. And I have to fight rebels too, so I think we're going to try to find high-level rebel missions. If we can pull a high-level mission against Rebel Guard, we're good. What level am I? 58, okay. So I have to go against 62s. Okay, it's... Do I have the item equipped? I want to make sure. Okay, yep, Signum of Wisdom. Alright, let's suffer. It is a purge, so that's easier. 100% damage taken. I don't like that at all. But I can hopefully, because they're not getting any elemental resists, I can hopefully just knock them down real quick. While I was loading in, I just remembered the game Hawken exists. Did you ever play Hawken? I played, like, the original version, and I looked at the Hawken Reborn, and at first they're like, oh yeah, it's gonna have PvE. I was like, oh cool, so I can do PvP or PvE. And then they'll just, everything else is just like, no, it's gonna be PvE first, and maybe we'll do PvP. And I'm like, but why? Why though? Like, you could have... I get it, it's a little more difficult because then you have to... You can't just update Hawken if you're trying to do progression and all that, because then it kind of screws things up. But why, even with a reboot, why wouldn't you just yoink all the old stuff and just move it over? Just off the rip, you would already have a ton of content. I think the game ended up with like a couple, like, was it 24 or more mechs? So it's like, why wouldn't you just start there? Even if your progression's completely different, you would at least have a ton for players to progress through. That's, I think, the smartest thing. Yeah, you can argue, oh, well, they'd just be kind of reselling the same game. It's a free-to-play game, so they can kind of do whatever. But also, it's not a bad thing. That's kind of what sequels... I feel like sequels should do that. They should just continue on instead of reinvent the wheel. Ah, no, it's just weird. It is kind of sad, because then I've looked at YouTube videos for it before, and it is just it's a lot of people who are just ripping the game a new hole. Rightfully so at times. Some criticisms, I think, are absolutely fair. Some are a bit more wham, baby, wham kind of complaints, but for the most part, it's a lot of generally reasonable, like I said, well, why didn't you just use what you already had? And there are things I definitely agree with. One of, like, the first trailers they showed, it was like, not even a trailer, it was just like gameplay, and they're like, oh, you can do open world kind of stuff and you find missions, which I was like, cool, that's a neat idea. And the way the player was moving, they're just bunny hopping at like high speed, just rapid bee hopping. And the whole time I'm watching this, I'm thinking, one, this is incredibly grating to hear, because you just keep hearing ka-chunk, ka-chunk, ka-chunk. I don't like jumping sounds in games, because when it's stuff with like armor, you can't do it a lot, because it's the most tedious sound, and people do it. People will do it when they're bored. It's like when people... You see it in, like, Call of Duty where they rapid fire ADS, even though there's nothing there, and it's just, like, rapid, or you see it with, like StarCraft, where you get these guys with extremely high APMs who just rapid fire between, like, 2 units, and it's, like, 3 frames just back to back to back to back, and it's nauseating. It's stuff like that where it didn't need to be there, and the people doing it, I don't know if they just have, like, extremely undiagnosed ADHD, and they just need continual stimulation, or they'll just, like, stand up and walk away and never return to their house again. But it's not fun. But, like, the jumping, it's loud, it's annoying. That's why I like mech games, because usually you can't jump, or it's, like in Mech Warrior, you gotta build to jump. And it is pretty much a niche, you're using this for very specific use cases type thing. Yeah, it just makes me sad, because Hawken was a cool idea. I played a little bit of it. I kinda was into it, but I couldn't find a build that was really for me. And I think having PvE would have made it real easy to find kind of my stride. But yeah, like the bee hopping was weird. And then they had a weird, like... It was just a weird system of ammo. You just pick up like ammo boxes and stuff like that. I don't know, if I was going to do a mech game, I would have set safe areas if it's open world that are repair and resupply, but I'd make it cost, in-game credits. But then you have your jobs pay out, like, per kill X amount of credits, and salvage chances, or whatever. You could even do kind of a Destiny engram system, where it's just like, oh, hey, you picked up weapon salvage. Return to a safe area and we'll take a look at what you actually found. This way you can kind of build up a bunch of stuff, head back, pay for resupplies if need be, do all your kind of maintenance stuff then and there. Generally, I would just kind of like a multiplayer MMO-ish kind of Mech Warrior 5. Because I know I'm weird about this, I love maintenance. Which is a very weird sentence, but I love that. I love, in Oblivion, having to repair my gear, repairing stuff in Fallout. I thought it was fun because it felt like you're more invested. Mech Warrior, if you get a limb blown off, you can lose all the parts, and it's that oh shit moment of, I hope I didn't lose that PPC or that Gauss cannon I had on there. Maybe I should have put this in the legs or the arm. Maybe I should have cheaped out on this part if I knew it was going to get blown off, that kind of stuff. Because it's fun. It's fun to actually have stakes. Without, like wagering money on things. But being able to be like, oh man, I gotta go run missions, or I gotta see if this location or this location is selling this gun right now, or what am I gonna do? Do I have to kind of make up for it with some scrap together kind of gap filler build? Do I have a backup mech until I can afford repairs, or until I can get the replacement parts? That's always fun. Because then when you really ball out of control, you can look at like your mechs or your stuff and be like, yeah, I did that. Hey, a second plasma pistol. We'll mulch it. I was gonna say we can just skip over doing that right now, but we're here, we might as well. I'd like a grav gun, those are fun. Ugh, our next rebel guard is way up high and it's rescue. I don't like that at all. But, big ol' but here. We can work around this. Because that hopefully brings it, yeah, it brings it to 62. As I say that, I need to check, did I level up? No, okay, cool. So, this should count. I do wonder what the fate of Hawken will be, this Hawken Reborn. Because I don't know much about 505 games, and they're like the publishers, I think. I hope that the Reborn game at least has a chance. Because there is potential. It just needs time. It needs a good guiding hand. I think that is kind of the problem, is if no one has a set vision in mind, then it's not going to do well. It's kind of like Defiance 2050, where I think it was Tryon. I can't remember if they made the original or not, but I think they bought Defiance when it was kind of on its way out, and then did 2050, which literally changed nothing. They didn't even change the story, even though it's supposed to be like set way ahead in the future, but nothing changed, which is a bit of a bummer. But I think if you don't have that strong guidance or a vision behind the game, it's not going to do well, because you're not invested, you don't really care. Decisions you're going to kind of waffle on and be like, should we have this, should we not, do we need it? But if you have that strong conviction, you can sit down and be like, no, we need this, this is how it's going to work, this, that, and the other thing, this is the plan. Because you can see that in other companies, actually. Apple's a great example. Ever since Steve Jobs died, even though Steve Jobs is kind of a douche, at least the company was more guided. They had a plan, they were going somewhere. Now it just kind of feels like they're just going, yeah, iPhone 15, you guys will buy it. And people do. People spend a couple $100s on a stand to hold their computers when it's just like bent metal. Reminds me of the Secret World. I've talked about Secret World before, and I love that game. And it's just sad that Funcom just kind of is sitting on it like, yep, we're not really doing anything, but it's here. If I had the money, I would buy that game outright from Funcom. I'd reach out to the guy who made the game initially. I can't remember his name. I remember it's like, his first name is Ragnar, or his last name is Ragnar. I just remember because I was like, that's kind of a cool name. But I'd reach out to him because I know he still does game design. And I'd just be like, dude, do you want to help with the story on this? This was your brainchild. I want you to continue this. Because he had a plan, and I'd like to see it come to fruition. Admittedly, I would change how the game plays, because the combat's floaty, it's your standard MMO fare, and I think dipping more into something along the lines of like First Descendant or along the lines of like Remnant from the Ashes, Remnant 2. I think that would work really well. Because that would give a lot of leeway. Players can feel more engaged. You don't need super big events.
Teleport beacon in range.
Because I genuinely think over time, even though I love like Arc Falls from Defiance, I do think super large scale multiplayer events are a bit overrated. And I think more curated experiences are better. Doesn't have to go from like sandbox to full on theme park design. But I think a bit more grounded, less spongy, not super mechanic heavy, because I hate how Destiny went that route. That, plus the whole everybody gets one revive they can spend on a teammate for raids. God, I hated that. Especially because there were times where you just had like one guy who was bad and everybody burned their revives on him. And then the game was like, oh, if you don't revive someone in the time limit, everyone fails. And it's like, well, why? I'd rather just be a man down than have this guy continually get us wiped. Hell, I remember in Destiny 1 trying to run Vault of Glass with a bunch of drunk dudes. And even with extra revives, it was not fun. I was with a friend of mine, we just dipped. We were just like, yeah, we got stuff to do. And it's like, I felt bad because I knew one of the other guys we were raiding with, and he wasn't drunk, but he's like, sorry, I thought the rest of the guys wouldn't be that way. And it's like, it's fine, it just kinda sucks. If it was like running strikes or something, I don't care. But when it's raids, it's so tedious. Even VoG, which was just arguably so brain dead. The mechanics were so basic that the only time you ever had to concern yourself was like the second you got into Atheon's boss room and you started to have to do stuff there even before you fought Atheon. But like, that was the one time you had to think a little. But yeah, even that was rough, so I think a more curated experience would be better, and you could do a lot of fun stuff, especially with Secret World. Come on, it's Lovecraftian horror mixed with conspiracy theories. That's easy. Have a location or a thing where you have to go to like Chernobyl and there's mutants and different like elementals. It's like a corrupted flame elemental that deals like radiation damage. Hell, that's kind of what they did in Werewolf the Apocalypse. Not the video game, the video game's terrible. The World of Darkness stuff. Because they had like a evil werewolf clan or pack in Chernobyl, which was really cool. Oh, our seasonal mission's up to a boss fight already? You sure about that? Huh. I might upgrade that a bit longer. Just out of, like, slight paranoia. Because I don't trust that. Yeah, let's nuke that plasma pistol, not gonna use it. Demo armor... No. It's kind of a hard sell when what you got is as solid as it is. That is a tempting grenade launcher. 50% of all damage is converted to warp damage. But then it opens me up to warp resist screwing my build over. Which sucks. Even though that's crit damage, crit chance, damage for short burst... That's a lot of good damage, shock on hit. I'm still gonna have to pass on, even though that is tempting. Let's see, is our stuff unlocked yet. Still waiting on that. One more. Alright. But that is all for now. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to hit the like button. It helps out the channel a lot. And if you haven't already, make sure to hit the subscribe button. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.